What's happening, people? My name is Robbie, and today it's reaction video day. And what is it that we're reacting to? Living on $6.1 million a year in Las Vegas, millennial money. This one's a special episode of Millennial Money because it's with none other than Graham Stephan. The fact that you're watching my channel just now means you probably have heard of Graham Stephan. He is the finance guy on YouTube. If you're thinking of finance people on YouTube, he's probably the guy who's going to show up. So it will be interesting to see how he lives on $6.1 million a year in Las Vegas. I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet and just get straight into the video, partly because my dinner's in the oven and I have 25 minutes before it's due to come out.
And this is my office. Come on in. Very superstitious, so I always have to sit right here to post a video. If we don't sit right here, we have a bad video. Since 2019, my income has almost tripled. YouTube is very much like the snowball effect, where all the work you put in starts building up that momentum, which builds more momentum, which builds even more momentum. There have been a lot of changes throughout these last 2 years. I've moved to Las Vegas. I now have 5 YouTube channels. I've doubled down on the content I'm putting out, and things are busier than ever.
I feel like it's hard to keep one YouTube channel under control. I don't know how he manages 5 if he has staff, but 5 YouTube channels is a lot.
My name is Graham Stephan. I'm 31 years old. I make $6.1 million a year in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is, wait for it, millennial money.
$15.5
million. My day
million.
is really boring. People think it's really exciting. Honestly, 10 hours a day is probably just spent just in front of a computer. So I would say usually I'll wake up anywhere between like 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. And then I walk 20 feet to my office, I close the door, and usually I don't come out until like 6 p.m., sometimes 7, but in that office, I'm just trying to think of video ideas. I'm trying to plan out different concepts.
I find it crazy that Graham Stephan has 5 YouTube channels. He earns $6.1 million a year, a lot of that attributed to YouTube and I presume sponsorships and things like that off the back of YouTube, and he still edits on iMovie for free. The most frugal man in the country.
For some reason, I have an easier time planning videos on a beanbag than I do on the couch. But I edit on the couch. You could just take this, put it here, lean up, and just edit away. And usually then after about 6 p.m., 6:30, we're wrapped up and try to take the rest of the day off. So since the first episode, Macy moved in with me, and it's been really nice that like throughout the day I could take like little breaks and we could hang out, we could kind of see each other. And it's nice just to kind of take myself out of the computer every now and then and just clear my mind and just relax a little bit throughout the day. I can't believe it's already been like almost 2 years since then. Wow.
That TV is like the height of Graham. That's a huge TV. And a short man.
So I grew up in Los Angeles my entire life. It's really all I knew, and when the pandemic hit, it really made me reevaluate where I wanted to be and where I wanted to work. And once I came up to Las Vegas to see a friend, we really got to experience a different side that I'd never seen before. And I really liked it, and I was able to get so much more for the money. I was able to get so much more space. Everything was less expensive, and that allowed me to expand my entire business in ways that just was not as possible in Los Angeles.
Gave up the real estate license. It's a bold move. Graham was a successful estate agent, real estate agent in California. He actually appears in the background of a few episodes of Selling Sunset, if you've ever watched that on Netflix. He worked for the Oppenheim Group. There it is there.
There's certainly a financial component to moving here as well that would allow me to get a home that is almost 4,000 square feet for half the cost in Los Angeles. It allows me to have people working from the house all day, that we could collaborate with each other. That just wasn't as doable in Los Angeles. And there's certainly the state income tax. I would be saving 13.3% living here, and so that has to be factored in, that allows me more money left over that I could reinvest elsewhere, and a lot of that money just goes back into the business. This is my set, and I was able to completely duplicate the exact same thing that I had back in LA. So when I'm filming, everything stays the exact same, and there's really no changes that are made. If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
There's no changes that have been made. There's a Ford GT in the room. A Ford GT is decoration, but there's been no changes. Okay.
It also really helps too that it seems like a lot of the financial guys on YouTube all live in Las Vegas, and it almost seems to play into the whole frugality thing where you are living in an area where your money goes further. And it was something that I've never experienced before because I've always lived in Los Angeles, so that was the norm. So leaving that and being able to experience something new just gave me a much wider perspective of what else was out there.
Ramsey wants to help. Ramsey, what do you think? Oh, yeah, he likes that.
The juicy bits. This is the juicy stuff.
The money I keep in bank accounts has certainly increased, and some of that is just to continually pay taxes as they're due. But the other aspect of it is that I am always on the hunt for a good deal, and I never know where that's gonna come. So I prefer to keep some cash on the sidelines, just if I see a good real estate deal come up. If there's a good investment opportunity, I'm always able to jump on that.
Graham saves $400,000 a month. That is absolutely insane. If I was making $400,000 a month, if I could make $400,000 a year, I would be very, very happy. He saves $400,000 per month. He invests 60% of it and the rest goes towards taxes and savings. In comparison, Graham bought a $1.44 million 4-bedroom house in Las Vegas with a 15% down payment. I just bought a £216,000 3-bedroom house with a 15% down payment. That is absolutely insane. And he saves $400,000 per month. So he saves the equivalent of his whole house being paid off every 4 months. Wow.
Every single time I walk by to the kitchen, I'm just sitting here looking at it for like 30 minutes. And every single time you see something new.
So I still track every week all the money that comes in, all the money that goes out, but there is really no budget at this point that I stick to because like the default is always, I'm gonna save. The default is never spend.
112 degrees. Barely feel it. Yeah, it doesn't feel any higher than 95 today.
If I do spend money, I mean, it's not enough to ever really move the needle. At the very most, it's going out to all-you-can-eat sushi at like $21 a person.
That's insane that he's spending $21 per person on dinner and saving $400,000 a month. I cannot get my head around that number.
And that's me even like extravagantly spending.
There it is. Super sushi. I will get the bankroll.
From a spending standpoint, there are some changes from about 2 years ago. The biggest change was that back then, I would do anything just for the sake of cutting back a little bit more and saving. And at this point, I definitely eased up a little bit. And the biggest thing that I would say that I've started spending money on that I never imagined in the past was being able to buy back my time. As an example of that, I would say sometimes delivering food to the house. If that means that I could save an hour and a half, or even I could spend an extra hour and a half with Macy so she doesn't have to cook. Even getting a house cleaner, that was something that I've never done before.
I think that's a decent use of money. With the amount that he's making, $250 a month is pretty reasonable actually.
For sound, let's get go. And then, so when we filmed the first episode, I was spending about 20% of my time working as a real estate agent, and then the other 80% of the time, till probably like 2 o'clock in the morning every single night, I'd be making YouTube videos. But when the pandemic hit, and
it's a hard graft. That is a lot of work.
And we were all just inside, that was the point for me where I was like, I want to just go all in on YouTube.
He started in early 2017, so it's been 4 years since he started his channel. That's pretty amazing actually.
I think the biggest shift for me over the last 2 years was probably more into financial commentary, because it gives me more content to work off of and to add my own thoughts about. Because at the end of the day, there's only so many times I could talk about how to set up a Roth IRA. So in 2020, the YouTube ad revenue made about $2.5 million, and in 2021, we're on track to probably hit about $2.8 to $3 million by the end of the year.
$3 million in a year. Makes you jealous. I'm not a particularly jealous person, but that makes me jealous.
Hey guys, wanna come to the office? Yeah. Cool. 2 years ago, I was pretty much doing everything myself. And it got to a point about a year and a half ago where I had no time. I mean, I was going from probably 6 o'clock in the morning to 8, 9 p.m. at night. As much as I enjoyed it, it was slowly wearing down on me. And the tipping point for me was really when I started to see my own content and my own work decline. That's the point where it started making sense to bring someone else on.
Posting time, you know what we need? We need one of those little bells. Bang, 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 bang. That's what we need for posting time. Bang, bang, 3:30.
So Jack now we have full time. He edits the videos on the second channel. He runs the podcast with me. We've just recently hired on Alex, who helps edit some of those videos on the podcast. He's doing the vlog. And these are things that just wouldn't be possible on my own.
Poor Alex is in with the washing machines. He doesn't even get a full office. He's in the utility room with a little fan. Poor Alex.
I enjoyed just being like a one-man operation. I took a lot of pride in the fact that, like, you know, look at all these people out there with these huge teams, and look at how much I'm able to accomplish on my own. But I think at a certain point that was holding me back from continuing to grow, because there's only so much work that I could do before just mentally you get burned out, and then at that point work begins to suffer.
So there we go. So I just got the notification, so I see it posted. 1 dislike already. Somebody's there. It's like, get the notification, dislike. Another thing I do out of superstition is that I always click on the video as soon as it posts, and I'll watch it all the way through just to make sure everything is perfect. And as you can see, I always hit my own like button.
I always hit my own like button as well, to be fair. Why wouldn't you? You need that extra like. Always. If you haven't liked this video yet, please do so now. Thank you.
Back then, like 2-3 years ago, I was indiscriminate about where I would be spending my time.
There you have it, espresso.
I would work 2 a.m. I would wake up at 6 a.m. I just wouldn't care. I would just work. It didn't matter where I spent my time as long as I was doing something productive. Now I feel like I work a lot more efficiently, and every hour of my day is allocated to doing something. So I really look at where is my time best spent? How am I able to get the most done during that time? And I've done my best to try to find as much balance as I can between having a life a little bit and working, even though I will say, like, work is my life in quite a big sense, and I enjoy it, but I've definitely become a lot more efficient and balanced in the process. I certainly think there is that risk of building your entire career on YouTube and potentially being at the whims of an algorithm, but I think to counteract that, we have such a supportive community. I've tried to diversify a little bit to other platforms, and if something were to happen, I would always have something else to fall back on, and that relieves some of the stress or some of the need to, keep the hamster wheel going and really do this from a place of authenticity, in the sense that, like, I really enjoy making content, not so much because it's like, oh, I need to sustain this lifestyle that just disappears if something were to happen to it.
That's good that he's mentioned that. I would imagine that it's quite stressful knowing that YouTube as a company almost decides your fate. If YouTube decided that they didn't want to promote Graham's channels anymore, they could do that. They could remove his channel if there was reason to do so. Now, I'm pretty certain that $15.5 million net worth means he has enough money invested to pretty much retire if he wanted to, but he doesn't strike me as the type to ever retire, really. So I think he's in YouTube for the long haul. So living on $6.1 million a year was actually living on around 40 grand a month, and the rest was all going into savings and reinvesting the money. Imagine the lifestyle you could have with $6.1 million a year, but Graham isn't interested in that lifestyle. He's interested in investing his money. which is good. Let's have a look at the comments and see if there's anything interesting in there. It's actually nice to see Graham loosening up and enjoying his money a bit more. Nice to have a follow-up. That's true. I thought that too. The guy makes an absolute fortune and he's lived frugally long enough that I think he's earned the right to be able to spend his money on a Ford GT to sit in his studio, for example, or a nicer, larger house than the one he had in California. I think he's earned that. Here's how Graham spends his money. He doesn't. Pretty accurate, to be honest, regardless of the fact that he has now bought his bigger house and he's got staff and things like that. Compared to how much he actually makes, he's spending pretty much none of it. Homie makes 6.1 million and makes his editor work out of the laundry room. I did point that one out. Poor Alex. Poor Alex. So that was an interesting watch. Obviously, if you follow Graham, then you know his financial standing. You know roughly how much he has invested and things like that. But it's nice to see it from the third person aspect. Very interesting. And I will say this, if I was making $6.1 million a year, I would be spending money a lot more frivolously than Graham is. So well done to Graham, the most frugal man on the internet. I'm surprised he isn't doing this whole van life thing just to save money, to be honest. That is it for the reaction video today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Maybe if I find the time to make one of these reaction videos a week like I intended to, maybe I'll be in a 10th of the position that Graham's in 5 years. Fingers crossed. Thank you again for watching and I will see you on Friday. Take it easy.